Hi everyone, let's talk critique. Today we're going to give a look at a talk by Charlie Fink at the recent VRLA. He's going to give us a great view of what the future of VR has for us. And we are going to dive in the real heart and structure of his talk to see how some elements could have been shuffled, some others strengthened to give a very impactful talk. It was great. Let's make it memorable. Let's jump right in.
Please join me in welcoming futurist, author, Forbes columnist, Charlie Fink.
I don't sound.
And Charlie will be giving a book signing at booth 725
at 12:30.
At 12:30, compliments of Technicolor.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for having me. This is a speed keynote. AR is very hot right now, as we know, and I'll talk about the reasons for that and the implications of that. But let's not forget that this is VRLA, and one of the first things I did in my career in the early 90s was I ran a company called...
So Charlie here immediately steps in with the strength of his credibility and the strength of his experience. That's great. One of the things that I would have done to kind of like set the mood of the talk would be to start with a provocative statement. Instead of dive right in, I would have said, today I'm going to show you and why I think that VR and AR are two totally different things. This, in a way, starts grabbing the attention of the people because the moment that you tell something people don't expect, you get their attention. And this is actually crucial throughout the talk. To get what you want, you need the attention of the people to inspire them. You need their attention, whatever you're doing. Building attention is crucial, and that's why the introduction of a talk has to be spot on. Nice introduction, having like this provocative line at the beginning would have had a greater impact.
A virtual world that was doing location-based entertainment, and of course we thought that was the future of computing until the internet came along and changed everything. And I got to see the internet from the inside, the development of the internet from the inside as well. And so here I am in the third act of my career writing about a lot of the businesses and topics that I worked on. And that forms a filter that I use when looking at VR and looking at AR. First of all, technology succeeds when it takes what we're already...
Now, he starts now introducing some of his books. So he mentioned about his great experience, and that's great because that has helped building his credibility. And in this specific case, it would also be great if he would have mentioned some of the great collaborators contributed to it. Especially when you give and you acknowledge other people that work with you, you come up at even stronger.
Doing and makes it better. In the same way that the internet enabled Amazon, and Amazon became e-commerce, and e-commerce is a killer app. But the real killer app of all of our devices, of the smartphone in our pocket or the PC on our desk, is to connect us with other people. And then finally, and I think this is sort of where we are with both VR and AR, is that we have inflated expectations because it's so exciting to contemplate what it's going to be. But the truth is, we're going to get there in baby steps. So I wrote a book that reflects a lot of these ideas, and in particular the ideas about VR and AR as completely...
So he mentioned 3 points of his book, right? That's when is that technology succeeds, people are the killer app, how we overestimate the short term and we underestimate the long term. And these are something that he are gonna come back in his talk. Not all of them, though. The people part will not. This case, this could have been provided at a great moment to add a bit of an anticipation and show some of other great content that is in his book. Let's say an example, he could have said, so, and today especially, I'm going to touch on 2 of this, the why technology, when is that technology actually has an impact and is successful, and also what I see could be the long term and the short term of AR. Unfortunately, I don't have the time here to share all this information, but please check it out in a book because I really think that you, all of us, we really are the killer app. And then continue, right? So this could have kind of like gave a little bit of a glimpse of what's extra is in the book, how he is not able to share it with everyone today, and then move on to the other two that basically will build up throughout the talk.
Different things. And the reason that I say that, of course, they're both head-worn computers ultimately, but their purpose and their origin is quite different. For virtual reality comes out of the tradition of cave paintings and campfires.
And now that's the thing, right? He starts saying and talking about the VR and AR. And instead of making those two differences even bigger, just more emphasizing, stressing what could have been his provocative statement, he kind of like tuned it down. And yeah, they both rely on a head mounted display, but they're still different. And now you will see that in the presentation, he kind of like gives up already what could have been an interesting twist. He mentioned about what's the power of VR and why VR has a certain purpose, and then afterward showing how AR has a totally different meaning and application. I don't want to spoil it. We're gonna hear it right now.
Stories and Plato's cave and shadow play and the fantastic Baroque churches of the Middle Ages that immersed you in a holy world, from a world that was quite dirty and dangerous. And that tradition extended toward theater and ultimately dark rides and movies and television, anything for which we need to suspend our disbelief. One of the great...
And now he talk about basically what is VR. And it's amazing, this analogy. I would have never thought of making something like that. So absolutely astonishing. And we'll use it certainly in the future. It's about VR as a tool for immersion, and starts from the man, from a prehistoric man in the cave telling stories and so on. And this would have been a great moment to add a bit of a descriptive twist to it, adding something like, and imagine people sitting around the fire in a cold night telling story, right afterwards stepping in a magnificent Gothic cathedral, right after inside the first movie theater, and more recently, the dark rides let you be completely immersed in a new world. This is what VR is about. And then ending with this great example of how Disney created the pinnacle of immersion with the tool that they had. Adding a bit of description brings the people in, keeps their attention, and just helps the whole talk moving forward with the people being really engaged.
Epiphanies that Walt Disney had, and I think it's very, very relevant to VR today, is that he created Disneyland because he realized that people wanted to be inside the world of a movie. And he did that using the technology of the time that he had. But the quest was immersion, man's quest for immersion. That is
nice.
The essence of virtual reality. Augmented reality comes...
And now already people got it, right? They saw that it's a tool and how that totally makes sense. Another great analogy. Why not add it on another slide? Why not letting people wait until the last minute to get the big reveal of how those two things are very different? Could have been nice.
Comes from a different place. Augmented reality is a tool. Started with the club and the wheel, and it includes the Industrial Revolution and the machine age, and now we have a computer age. All of these are making men better, faster, making life easier. The other point I want to make from the book, and this is very important for my discussion right now of augmented reality, is that...
Okay, wait a second, because this is something that what I think should have been put afterward. And the reason is because now he's going to mention something about how AR works using mobile and give a little example of his book. Now, imagine for a second that this part would have been deleted or put on hold until later on in the talk. Let's just try to imagine.
The fundamental idea here is now the camera is the interface. You're not looking down, you're looking up, you're looking out. So let me talk a little bit about the way my book works. My book is an augmented reality book about virtual and augmented reality. You take out your phone, you download the Fink Metaverse app, and you point it at the cover, and it markers inside the book, and you see something like this. Hello, I'm Charlie Fink. I'm a futurist and the author of this book, which you can judge from its cover. It's full of AR fun like this. So keep your phone handy as you check out what's inside and join me on this journey. Let's dive in. Let's have some fun. So that was done by Living Pop-Ups, who has a booth here. In fact, in the Living Pop-Ups booth at 12:30, I will be signing complimentary books. That's a $50 book until supplies run out, courtesy of the Technicolor Experience Center. So let me talk a little bit about my augmented reality book and augmented reality in general. There are two kinds of augmented reality.
Imagine now that he would have stepped from an AR is a tool directly right now, saying what kind of AR there are. Just keep on giving this nice explanation about how it works and then the future. And this is really something that I didn't expect. And this whole idea of AR cloud that he's introducing is fascinating.
That the camera can produce. One is it's called marker-based AR, and the cover is the marker, and it induces the image to stand up, and the image is anchored in what appears to be what is the real world. And then there's geolocated data, which is essentially Pokemon Go, right? You find data, in a certain geographical area, and the geolocation and the persistence of data in what we call an AR cloud is one of the fundamental ideas behind augmented reality, right? AR and Kit and AR Core are enabling technologies that allow us to anchor, to detect space, surfaces, and planes so that we can anchor the data to a certain plane. But by themselves, when ARKit came out and we were all excited and started downloading ARKit apps, we were a little bit disappointed because there was no AR cloud and the augmented reality wasn't really augmenting anything. It was just appearing in our field of view. But where we're really going with augmented reality and with the camera as the interface is essentially a computer that sees the world, a universal visual browser, if you will. And that universal visual browser can act as a Google for the real world and for geolocated content, provided, of course, that there's a universal visual browser and that it can tell us where data is. But today, you can now geolocate data, right? You can put a menu on a restaurant or a directory on a building, or how about notes from people on your social graph that are placed in geographic locations that you can access later. But for this to work, of course, we'll need a system of filters, because otherwise everything will be talking to you at once, right? Otherwise a building will be cluttered with graffiti and notes from your friends and menus and advertisements, and you would just turn it off and never use it because that wouldn't be useful. What's useful in augmented reality is very specific things that augment the world and do it in a time and a way that you want so that it is contextual.
So now, indeed, this idea of this AR cloud, and also especially, how do we get filters for it? How do we prevent to be overcrowded? Now, I haven't read the book yet, but I certainly downloaded it on Amazon to dive right in. And I really wonder how this kind of topic is addressed. Something that he could have maybe shared or give a hint to just to get the people more into some of the really nice discussion that are going on in this book.
So there are different kinds of AR that I want to bring your attention to. We talked about marker-based and persistent geolocation, which is, as I said, a very, very important idea that we're going to be hearing a lot about. But the other thing that everybody associates AR with, and the reason it's often conflated with VR, is because of the head-mounted display. And I just wrote an article in Forbes about the most popular and the one area of augmented reality where big money, billions of dollars are being generated, and that is in industry, particularly manufacturing that requires handwork like wiring, where people are looking back and forth from a laptop to their handwork. By putting a monocular display.
So basically, he moved now from the description of the marker-based and the geolocated into what are actually some of the application, sharing some insight about how the manufacturing are using it, and then other kind of information moving into the consumer's impression of it, and then afterward, the long-awaited magic leap. Is ever coming? I don't know.
With the plans right here, it makes that process much faster, safer, and more accurate. And Boeing, just to use one example, now wires a jet, saves $10 million a jet on wiring because of these monocular head-mounted displays. But on the other hand, they're terrible, right? You would take them off as soon as you were done with work. Although the people who work with them value them highly, they are a tool. For consumers, augmented reality means something completely different, right? So as I said, the world could be painted with data from different sources. Every object could be a marker that tells a story. In fact, there's an app today that can give you a taste of this called Blipper. You just hold down Blipper and it starts to identify things that the camera sees. You talk about city guides. I mean, Batman could be your city guide to Gotham City, and you would just follow him around. Of course, you would get paper hanger syndrome from doing this. You probably couldn't do it for very long, as anybody who plays
Paper hanger syndrome? I have to check it later.
AR-enabled mobile games knows. But that means that the head-mounted display is all the more inevitable. And of course, one of my favorite applications is hold your phone up over the soccer game and see who's who. Hold your phone up over a baseball game and see the stats of the players. Now, I do want to talk about Magic Leap because, I mean, I don't know if this is going to be a consumer product in 2019 or ever, because a real augmented reality head-mounted display, for example, would have to use your prescription. It would have to have a much better form factor than this. Yet I am grateful to Magic Leap because they have popularized this idea of the head-mounted display allowing us to lift up our heads from our hands, which is obviously a terrible form factor, and give us the world back, right? Let us now see the world that we keep looking away from and shifting our time. And let's have it be contextually aware so that when I look out on this audience, I will see who's in my 4,000 LinkedIn friends. And maybe it just whispers your name to me, right? Maybe augmented reality isn't all about having to read a lot of crap in your field of view, which would be obviously, very annoying. You might want more information and you tap for it, but the initial information you get from augmented reality will be very specific, very light, and at the exact right moment. And those are some of the ideas that Magic Leap has popularized. But, consumers don't want to know what a field of view is. They don't want the...
So now basically you talk about what is this future and some amazing perspective about the AR cloud, and then moving into application, but he's still on something that is far from people, right? He's still not talking about that something that people could really have in their hand right now. And in my version, so to say, of the talk, we said that he didn't say anything about his book, and he also doesn't mention how the camera of our phone can be used for several augmented reality applications in my version. And that's where the twist happened, because I think would have been a much greater, much stronger if he would have brought that point right now.
Headset like the Oculus Go to go out after an hour and a half, which is not very long battery life for something you want to wear all day. So head-mounted displays, a little bit of science fiction. I think we're years away. And again, wearing headsets is not something that people are already doing for virtual or augmented reality. So that's going to take a while. Let's be real. But in our hand today is a device that does augmented reality and is going to generate a lot of money and a lot of great experiences in the very near term. So that...
And that is why I decided to write my book as an augmented reality book talking about augmented reality and virtual reality. My book is about like this, and we can use it like that, and we can do it like that. And this would have just felt a better flow, and now we could have really dive in into the potential and how easy it is, and the many more application of augmented reality for with mobile devices.
That's why I say AR is so hot. It takes what we're already doing and makes it better. Remember when you had a flip phone and you went to Verizon or Sprint to get your new phone and they said, hey, would you rather have a phone that does email and surfs the internet? And you said, yes, please. So we are not at that moment for virtual reality, but we very much are for augmented reality because you didn't even have to say yes, please. Your phone just turned into an augmented reality device. So that's what's happening today. Don't forget about my book signing, 12:30, booth 725, complimentary books while they last, courtesy of Technicolor. I thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you, VRLA, and I'll see you all next door.
And there you have it. We saw a nice talk from Charlie about the potential of VR, AR, and see how the future in this AR cloud could shape up in the future is incredibly fascinating. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below if you want to stay updated with the most recent analysis on VR talk in the market, pitches, and other. If you have other to recommend or you want to send me your own, just put a link in the comments below. Till next time.